Welcome to Magic Gathering Strat. I'm Dan. Today we are going to shoot the first episode of the Roguecast, a new podcast with Fernando Antunes, Feiju Khan, and Kevin. And I'm the guest, so I'm recording it for the YouTube channel. Hi guys. Do you hear
Hi
me?
there.
Hey, Kevin.
How's my mic? My mic sometimes is really loud on.
Sounds good to me.
We
Okay.
will notice what it's like 15 minutes after we have done the cast.
You're starting a little staticky to me, Dan. I
Don't
if
know
you
why
do
that is. Do you hear me again?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, good.
Yeah, sound is always the problem.
Now you're breaking up again. What are you doing, Dan?
Nothing.
You're killing me here.
Skype. Welcome to the wonderful world of Skype.
I thought you Swedes were supposed to have good internet.
We do. Except that I am in the north. In the wilderness.
I'm assuming that makes a difference here. Okay.
This is my ordinary setup, so it has been it has had its share of problems.
Ah. Well, I'm recording this on pretty old computer, so I'll be happy if it doesn't catch on fire. To be honest.
The computer actually does a lot for the cast. So we had a lot of problems with audio in competitive popcast at the start, and that was because Will's computer sucked.
Yeah, I noticed in some of those episodes.
It was all
how do I?
the laptop. You sound great.
I sound like what?
Great.
No, cool. All right. Just getting my notes ready here. Yes, they're on paper. It's a very high-tech organization I'm running here.
Nice.
Yeah, cool. You're not gonna ask me to run Word and record, are you? It's gonna kill my computer.
Don't do it.
Live on the wild side. Okay. Okay, all systems are ready to go. So, are you guys ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of the Roguecast. This is going to be a Magic the Gathering podcast. And let me introduce my first guests. First, from RogueDeckBuilder.com and Rogue Deck Builder on YouTube, and also GatheringMagic.com, we have Kevin.
Howdy.
Exciting intro. And from MTGOstrat.com and Magic the Gathering, MagicGatheringStrat.com on YouTube, we have Dan Herning.
Hello.
Did I butcher your name?
No, that was actually really good.
No, I will try harder next time. All right. Kevin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been doing YouTube for a year now. I guess do videos for GatheringMagic.com. And I guess my YouTube channel is Rogue Deck Builder earlier, and it is on building more of the Johnny type decks, the creative decks, the out of the box decks, not the net decks. So kind of got a niche. Just the channel started when I was so excited doing a deck that I called Dork Blade that used a bunch of mana dork and all the blades from the Mirrodin, Scars of Mirrodin block. And it was doing very well. I was winning dailies, and I just decided to make a video, and it took off.
Oh,
There you and oh no.
I lost you there for a second.
Hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. I don't know what cut out or what not. So
It was just like the last 5 seconds for me. I don't know if it cut out for Dan too.
I heard dorks and blades. then it was lost.
What?
Dorks
I heard more than that.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that was just the introduction of how my channel got started. I wanted to do a video. I was a big fan of Frank Lepore. He did a YouTube. I think he's moved over to just TCG Player. He doesn't do YouTube videos anymore, but I used to love watching his YouTube videos. And at the time, I just had a very successful deck that was out of the box thinking. I thought I'd just make a video and see how it went. And it was received pretty well by the YouTube community. And then I got lucky on some other videos like Epic Experiment. They got pretty popular. And I just decided to do videos ever since, start a channel that's focused on rogue deck brewing. And yeah, so got my Gathering Magic sponsorship back in March of last year. And so that's really helped out as well since I've got a platform there to do videos on.
Yeah, I think the first video I saw of you was actually the Epic Experiment deck because I was looking for somebody who had a brew involving it because I love the card so much. So that was the first video I saw of you.
Yeah, it's one of the first ones. Yeah, like I said, the only other video series before that was the Dork Blade, and which has since been taken down because I had copyrighted music and all those things that YouTube does not appreciate. So
oh yeah.
Come a long way since then.
No, wasn't the Rogue Market a little bit before the Epic Experiment deck? Or?
I probably did do some Rogue Market. Like I said, there's some videos that have been taken down. So if you looked at my history of my channel, that probably is, the Rogue Market probably is the first video that's up. But there was a video series before that was taken down.
That's a shame. YouTube always meddling.
I took it down for precautionary reasons. I didn't understand YouTube at the time, and I didn't expect the channel to take off. The Epic Experiment deck was quite popular. I mean, the Dorkblade videos only got a couple hundred views before they started to die out. So, but the Epic Experiment really took off. I really think that there are other people just like you that were trying to, find a deck that utilized Epic Experiment. I'd had some success at FNM with that deck and thought I'd do a video series on that as well.
Yeah, that's great, and we all appreciate it. Believe me.
Thanks.
Now, Dan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started a YouTube channel exactly a year ago, and it's called Magic Gathering Strat. It started out with me doing mostly Pauper videos, but I have let a lot of other people do videos on the channel. I'm looking for a standard video maker right now, so if anybody listens to this, please contact me. We have about 12 people doing videos on the channel right now, and after I've done that for about 5 days, I was approached by a guy called Will Scarangello who asked me to start a site with him. So mtgeostrat.com is me and Will's site. It has about the same profile, so we try to do everything about Magic. We started out in Pauper, so we have mostly Pauper people from the start, but it is growing and we're trying to cover everything, so we are very general.
Yeah, that's how I found you, was the Pauper videos, because my fascination with budget decks and how they can compete with regular decks that cost like 10 times more.
Was it Trinket even?
No, it was the Pauper Gauntlet. It was the Love Train one.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
One advantage with Pauper is that it's very easy to build a lot of decks.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did last summer for the first season of the Pauper Gauntlet was to play 47 different decks in the tournament practice room and try to survive as long as possible. And it turned out to be quite popular. It turned my entire play of Magic much more casual. When I started the YouTube channel, the intention was to become a better tournament player, but now I don't play tournaments at all. It's all casual, pretty much.
Well, Pauper tournaments are a thing in the past.
Yeah.
From what I hear.
Yeah, there are some premier events, but Pauper was never very competitive to start with. I think the advantages of the format is that it's so great for casual, and that you can build all these decks and sort of learn the principles of Magic without paying thousands of dollars.
Yeah, that's that's a big part of Magic, and I don't think you have to spend a lot of money to have a competitive deck. I remember a video of Brennan, I think, where he accidentally in the Just for Fun room played with his pauper deck against a modern deck, and he actually held his own. That was that was pretty incredible.
Sweet. I've been doing a lot of modern lately, so I just actually bought Jund, so it's
Yeah.
yeah, it was $1,000 pretty much. So
Yeah. For the Modern Noob series, which I am
I
also.
like Eternal formats. Yeah, Modern Noob is a series I'm doing right now when I'm playing. I'm learning the format and playing 5 different decks. So that's very few for me.
Yeah. Now I don't even have to ask you this, Kevin, but do you play more rogue decks or net decks?
Yeah. Well, I have I play a lot more rogue decks. I will play the occasional tier 1 decks at larger tournaments and whatnot, but usually I even spice those up. It's very hard for me to play an established deck because what I get out of Magic is the creativity aspect. Like, the most fun I get is actually brewing decks and then playing those brews against competitive decks. I don't feel as fulfilled, I guess, by playing in a tier 1 deck at a tournament and winning. It just feels like it's someone else's accomplishment. And I mean, I'm not against net decking, but for me personally, I just like to brew my own decks and play those decks.
Yeah, I think the originality and creativity aspect is really a big part of what fascinates me in Magic. And to be honest, I am kind of against net decks, but we'll get on that later. Dan, how about you? More rogue or more net deck?
Well, I don't brew at all. That was a decision I made earlier in the history of the YouTube channel. So, and that has made me a very good person for a lot of brewers. So, for example, in the Gauntlet, there was a brewer for every deck. So I talked to a lot of brewers and I play their decks. And of course, it's more fun to play rogue decks, and it's definitely more interesting for the YouTube audience. So yeah, for example, if I post a Delver versus Stompy to tier 1 decks video, then it's interesting. But if I post Pauper Pink Pants versus Delver, then yeah, the views shoot through the roof. So
Yeah. It's the curiosity also. Pink
Yes.
Pants. What is this?
Yep.
What sorcery is this?
I love that.
Yeah, Love Train, yeah. Actually, the name is what caught my attention. I was like, Love Train, I wonder what this is all about.
Yeah, and I earlier decided that the naming principle got to be whatever the brewer says the deck is called, that's what it's called. So
Yeah.
and that has caused some controversy and also piqued a lot of interest with imaginative names like Love Train.
Yeah. Well, it usually does. Now, do you play any Magic the Gathering tournaments on paper or FNMs or anything anymore?
Actually, in the fall of 2012, I went to my local game store and I played a draft, and that was my first paper tournament since Pro Tour Los Angeles in 2000.
Wow.
And I haven't played paper since then, so once in 14 years.
Oh, wow. Don't you miss it at all? Do you just
No, I hate all the overhead, the traveling, sorting cards. I still have a full bookcase with cards.
So you prefer just to play MTGO with your little mug of coffee next to you, huh?
Yes. No pants, it's wonderful.
Well, I mean, you don't have to wear pants at an FNM, but I take your point. It is preferred. I have had things called to me. How about you, Kevin? Any tournaments, FNMs lately?
I just got back from PTQ. This would be Fort Collins, so in Colorado. It was an 8-hour drive. So I'm a little bit groggy right now. Just barely got back about an hour ago from that. And, well, paper and MTGO have different roles in my life. I like MTGO for the competition, and it's so much easier to brew on MTGO than try to find paper cards. And then rares are so cheap, uncommons are so cheap, and you can get them. One of my problems even when I was in a more metropolitan areas or metropolis area was I couldn't even find uncommons sometimes. I go to different stores and couldn't find an uncommon. It'd be forever to just build a deck. before I could even test it. With MTGO, you can go to one of the million bots and buy the cards and sit down and start testing immediately. So it takes down that time factor exponentially. So that's what I get out of MTGO is more the competition. But I am a social person, so I do like paper. I do like the friendly. I went with 3 other friends. We drove, and that was part of the fun was getting in the van and driving 8 hours to an event. But I am a bit exhausted from it because it was grinding, and it is a little bit difficult having to actually deal with personalities. You don't have to see people on MTGO, and you can avoid them. You don't have to have any sort of social interaction, and it can get quite weird in the Magic community and paper to deal with some of the, I guess, tougher personalities or the personalities that are harder to get along with. Ran into a little bit of that during Colorado, but the great thing about Colorado is they just legalized marijuana, so everyone is so chill there. I mean, it was the great coming from Utah, a very uptight state, to Colorado, and they are having a heyday out there with the new legalization. So it's a pretty interesting tournament.
Every game went to time.
I am taking notes now, Colorado, for no specific reason. Colorado. Okay, road trip.
That explains why my my Magic mentor, Power T, he spent like several years in Colorado, and now I understand why.
Well, if they just legalized it, then he may have left too early.
Yeah. It was like a month ago. I think it was only about a month ago that they did legalize it. But I mean, Colorado's huge for Magic.
They weren't too fascistic about it right before they legalized it. So they were probably tolerant before as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it usually happens. So you want to tell us like a sneak peek of how that went, or...
Oh, sure, yeah. I definitely need to get back into the competitive aspect of Magic. I am very rusty. It didn't go well for me. I ended up playing out. I was statistically eliminated by round 5, but I decided to play the rest of it out, and it I got all the matchups I even wanted, and I just couldn't. It was more my deck was a little bit awkward. I would not suggest running a 3-color deck right now.
Yeah.
You can just get blown out of the water by missing a certain color. I was Rocks and Smiters, and then into Opposite, and then I had the Blood Barons in the sideboard, tons of removal, and whatnot. And so, like I said, I got the matchups I wanted. It was just a lot of times I was stuck on 2 colors, not having the third one, or not having the double black for Opposite, or the double green for Advent the Worm, and those type of things cost me a lot of games. And then there was a lot of just the luck factor in there where. Like one of the scenarios that really sticks out in my mind was I first turned Thoughtseize to my opponent who was playing RG Monsters, and who keeps a hand with 5 lands, a Sylvan Caryatid, and an Elvish Mystic? I mean that's the handicap.
A smart player who doesn't want to get Thoughtseize.
I guess so, yeah. So I ended up taking a Sylvan Caryatid, thinking, okay, the Sylvan Caryatid at least can fix his lands. I think he had 1 Temple in his hand, so I'm like, double red for. The Stormbreath Dragon, he won't be able to, if he tops into that, he won't be able to cast it. So take the Sylvan Caryatid, plus it stops any sort of Soldier of Pantheons or whatnot. So anyway, he proceeds to top deck into Domri and finds Apollo Chronos off the top, off his first Domri trigger, then I have to waste 2 Celestia Charms to kind of power through my Loxodon and Smiter to kill the Domri, and then he proceeds to hit every time with Domri. So it's just one of those times like, where useless Thoughtseize first, and then they have the answers on top. And that's just kind of how my day went. Another Boros match was similar, where I Thoughtseize first turn and found a Chain of the Rocks and a Magma Jet, and then he draws into Ash Zealot, Hammer of Perforos, Stormbreath Dragon, and then just proceeds to have all the answers. So a little bit frustrating that. Like I had the worst part about the entire thing is I didn't get any matchups where I felt like were unwinnable. I actually got all matchups that were favorable for my deck. I was worried about Mono Blue, didn't see it once, and the deck was really prepared for Esper midrange and UWR control, which I thought would be everywhere because of the popularity of Mono Black and Mono Blue. Mm-hmm. And I did see that twice, and I was able to easily win those matches, but everything else was not going my way there. So ended up at 3-5, so pretty disappointed in that, but It's my second PTQ ever, actually. I mean, I won the very first PTQ I was ever in, so this is still... I'm still growing as a player. I'm not the best player ever, so...
Yeah. That was the one with the Soul Sisters, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Still love that deck. I just finished building it recently.
Yeah, it's a fun deck.
Yeah.
This was huge, too. This PTQ was over 215, I believe. It was massive PTQ for... a little town. I mean, I think Fort Collins, Colorado is only about 100,000 people.
Oh, wow.
So
it's pretty
it was
crazy.
huge for that. I mean, Denver is only an hour away, though, so...
Yeah. Traveled in, probably. Okay, so we were talking about net decks earlier. You were saying you don't have a problem with it. I kind of do, because it seems that people nowadays are more about efficiency and not so much originality and fun. And I think that takes away a lot of the magic, pardon the pun, of the game. So I'm kind of against everybody running mono blue devotion, mono black devotion. It's like it would be like a society where everybody wears uniforms. You know, it wouldn't be as much fun.
It's very hard to do anything about. So
that's true.
When I started playing back in the Viking Age in '94, Revised had just come out, and I was the only one with internet access.
Cheater.
Which was great. So you could see every week you went to the local game store and people were just... That was the metagame. There was no outside influence. And it was the best Magic I ever played. It was so much fun. But net decking is there and there's nothing we can do about it, really.
Yeah, I guess internet has a big influence in that, because when I first played the game, it wasn't quite as early. It was Kamigawa, but still, most people I knew made their own crazy brews, and you just never knew what to expect. I mean, what is this guy going to be running? You know, is he going to be the Overblaze Hidetsugu combo or something else? You never knew.
Didn't everybody run Affinity?
A couple people did, but in my area there was a lot of originality. I would say there was people running the demon. What was it called? It was the intro pack, the black-red one. Anyway, it was something like, at the end of your turn, if you don't have a demon, you sacrifice a shaman or something. It was pretty insane. But if you had both on board, it would be crazy value. I can't remember the name of the cards. I can barely remember what I had for breakfast. So as a creative player, Kevin, why don't you hate net decking?
Well, to each his own. I mean, I really love personality theory, so I understand like how a person, at least in United States, we have the personalities here aren't very creative. We have a lot of people that are good at performing a certain duty, not really looking outside the box. So I've grown up around people that I see the influence, especially in this area with Magic, where they want to be efficient. They want to play the best strategy possible. And it's very uncomfortable for them to think outside the box. So I'm okay with that. The only problem that I have right now with the kind of spike mentality is where you go to these tournaments and they feel like you don't deserve to be there unless you're running a net deck. Mm-hmm. Or it's kind of this unwritten law. And it takes away a huge, like you said, fun aspect of the game, which is brewing, finding different combinations and whatnot. And I wish more people would jump onto the more Rogue or Johnny bandwagon rather than the Spike net deck bandwagon, because it does get very boring. When I've been to tournaments like Delver when I won or when I top 16 a Star City Open, I played Delver 7 times in a row. And it was like, am I going to see anything but Delver today? And it was in my favor because I was playing a Thalia deck, but it was just still, it just got so annoying where. And those games were really decided by turn 1. You knew if you won or not. If they had to have the like turn 1 gut shot or mental misstep to counter your Birds of Paradise, or same thing, the gut shot the Thalia down by turn 2, or otherwise you're just gonna be way far ahead, and it wasn't. It's almost like okay, let's show each other's opening hand and decide who wins there. So that's how the games played out, and it was just over and over and over that Delver. What can't they just play another deck besides Delver? And especially when like right now, I guess right now is not quite as healthy of a format as the Innistrad Return to Ravnica block or standard was, but it's still healthy enough that I think there are plenty of decks out there that are viable. And I guess we did at this PTQ. I was impressed because I saw a ton of different decks. I expected to see mono black all day long and didn't even see it once. But then again, I was kind of on the losers bracket at that point.
Well,
so I don't know.
It's have fun.
Yeah, to each his own. That's if people want a net deck, if they're there to win, that's fine with me. It's just that is the major problem I have with Spikes, and one of the major reasons that I started Rogue Deck Builder was to be a voice for the people that actually do like to brew, because there is that, and I know that there is the whole anti-Spike hatred. You see that online too. Like I've seen it at tournaments too. Like if you get beat by a net deck, then I've seen the Johnny players start raging and be like, "Oh, you're a stupid net deck. If you could create your own deck." I mean, it goes both ways. But my experience is I've had a ton of the more competitive players, more of the net deck players, get very angry with me when I play a rogue deck at a tournament. That's why I've got a collection of screenshots from MTGO about all the times they've raged at me for playing a rogue deck.
Oh yeah, but there's nothing more satisfying.
It's like if you were the only one playing net decks and everybody was playing rogue decks, then you should be happy, right? I think Pat Chapin said it best, that if you never play net decks, you have no brain, but if you never play rogue decks, you have no heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really really well put.
I also want to add that two formats I recommend a lot if you like rogue decks and building decks is Standard Pauper and Heirloom. We are doing the Standard Pauper Gauntlet on Magic Gathering Strat in February, and we will call for decks on the 24th of February. So we're looking for brewers. It will be on MTGO Strat. Heirloom in itself, I don't know if you know anything about the format, but Heirloom is like the most open brewer format there is in Magic. And it's very, very deep.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know about format?
I know a little. I've tried a few. I tried Pauper for a while. I kind of got sick of Pauper because again, all I did was played mono blue Delver like 10 times in a row,
Heirloom
and
is
it just
far
got
more
frustrating.
open and has more power, as you can use rare and mythics. Actually, the card, I think it has almost the biggest card pool except for Legacy and Vintage. Then Heirloom is all the cheap cards, pretty much. So cards rotate in and out based on price. So if a deck gets popular, in theory, then the price will go up on some cards, and then they will be banned for a month. So it's a very interesting Brewers format.
Yeah, you always have to keep up to date, it seems, with... I can use Nightveil Spectre. Oh, no, it just skyrocketed. Oh, I have to rebuild my deck.
You can find more details on Heirloom and the tournament on gathling.com.
I will also put that in the description below.
Yep.
Now, that also brings me to a point. Kevin, your Bug Immortal Servitude deck got somewhat popular out there, wouldn't you say?
Well, LSV did a daily MTG on the the mothership site about it, and so it got pretty popular on Reddit as well, and a few other. Yeah, it's probably the most competitive deck, I would say, that I've brewed. I mean, the most complete, the one that actually worked. It's been one of my favorites. It's just very fun to play as well. So I think it was kind of the perfect storm. It had the competitive edge and was still a combo deck, a rogue type deck. So I enjoyed it. I was very sad to see Innistrad rotate.
And yet they never even mentioned you, the original brewer.
That's okay. That's I know. And then there was another guy on Star City. He played it at a Star City Open, but he ended up referencing me finally, but it's fine. I'm not one of those that I have to be referenced. If people are actually, he could have, some other people could come up with the same idea at the same time. One of the beefs I did have with Star City, I know one of their writers must follow my channel because right after I put out a video series, he always puts it out. But it was the exact same deck list that was on the Star City. I mean, to a T, and it was only playing 2 Snapcaster Mages. And the only reason there was 2 Snapcaster Mages in the deck is because I was poor and couldn't afford 2 more Snapcasters. So that's why I know it was my brew, because there was no reason not to run a full play set of the best card. And Snapcaster it was hands down the best card in the deck. And when I did finally pick up the remaining 2 Snapcasters, it worked out a lot better. So I mean, it's just nice when they give you some credit, but I just like to see something that I've brewed out there. I don't necessarily need to have the praise.
I'm looking at the first Google hit on the deck, and it has 2 Snapcaster Mages on TCG Player.
Yeah, it's a coincidence. They just had the same idea at the same time, and exactly the same deck list.
Yeah.
And they only had 2 Snapcaster Mages.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe they were exactly poor like me, too.
That explains it. See? There you go. Logical explanation right there. He was poor. Poor Star City Games guy.
I find it very important to credit the brewers. I go to great lengths to try to credit brewers. And especially when I play a deck a lot on YouTube and people think it's my deck, I'm sort of pointed out in all the show notes and in the video that it's not.
Yeah, I was about to say that because you always, you always mention like GPH Snake or Turbo Kitty or whoever brewed the deck. You always have that attention to mention who it was and where they can follow up on their stuff. So.
Yeah, I think
that's really important.
Brewers are doing great work, and that's one of the few things they get back is the credit. So it's really important.
Exactly. Now, just one last thing about net decking. I have this opinion. I don't know if you're going to share in it, but that net decks are probably caused by the money involved nowadays in pro Magic. There's more of a streamlining because of the professionalism involved, which is growing exponentially. So do you think that also influences a person's choice of risking playing a rogue deck or going for a sure thing?
Well, that's a huge thing. I mean, especially this PTQ entry fee was $25. And then the price for it is pretty terrible for the 25. So with 200 people paying $25, that's $5,000 going into the tournament, and the flight ticket is just to Atlanta. Atlanta is one of the cheapest flights you can get here in the States, so it's not going to cost Wizards very much to pay for that plane ticket, and the prize was still meh. So I'm thinking that the people, when they go into a tournament like that it is higher stakes, like a Pro Tour invite is on the line, they want something that are statistically shown to work. And I understand that drive. Like there was one of the guys that went with us that he usually plays a variety of different decks. Both of them, actually, 2 of the guys that went with us, F&Ms, they run a huge variety, but they went with mono blue and mono black because the stats were there and they didn't want to risk it. And I made a risky call here. I played a deck that was untested, didn't test it much, and holes in the deck. But it did pay off at the PTQ before then when I played Soul Sisters, and no one was prepared for it, and it was just perfect against the metagame at the time was lingering Jund. That was the flavor of Jund. Jund has changed so much in the past year or two, and at the time their splash was white for Lingering Souls, and I believe there was like 1 or 2 other cards. They like to put Stony Silence in it because Tron was a bad matchup for it. And there was a few. I think Elspeth was the other card that they put in, the old Elspeth Knight, the Knight one. And and so Soul Sisters was so perfectly prepared to just run over UWR Control and Jund, and it was. I lost my first match, drew my second match, and was able to then play basically UWR or Jund variants the rest of the way up, and pretty much get a lot of auto wins that way. And it was just by playing And its Solstice at the time was pretty rogue. It was not very many people played it, especially the version that I ran with the Art of Champions.
Mm-hmm.
So it pays off to be creative and kind of go. Conley Woods does very well with his Crazy Brews.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I think if more people played, like if everyone played, we'll just use Bug Immortal Servitude. I think that if people played that deck as much as, say, Mono Blue Devotion is be playing now, I think you would have seen some top finishes just by, if you would see all the 0-5s, or that's why I'm so glad that MTG Goldfish is now recording the 0-5s and 1-4s and 2-3s, so you get to see, now if you click on Mono Blue Devotion, you get to see all of them that failed in that tournament. So one maybe did win, but there was tons of them that went 0-5.
Yeah.
So it gives you a better
Perspective.
read on that this deck isn't just going to a tournament and auto winning. It's going to a tournament and there's as many losing as there is winning.
Yeah. And oftentimes when the metagame is not prepared for a certain deck, it can be really hard for the standard decks to sideboard something against it. I remember Stanislav Sivka winning, I can't remember the tournament, but with eggs. Nobody was expecting eggs, and he just destroyed everybody.
Yeah, it's a pro tour, and eggs is the easiest deck in the world to shut down.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. No one was prepared for it.
That's the value of a rogue deck, because if they don't know what you're running or what your deck is supposed to do, then they don't have no clue how to sideboard against it.
That was the best with Bug Immortal Servitude, is they'd side in a bunch of removal. I'm like, why in the world are you bringing Abrupt Decays in versus me? I want you to put my Elvish Mist or Elvish whatever cantrip guy in the graveyard. That's where I want him to be. So
yeah,
they're taking out Blood Artists and whatnot. I'm like, I'll get him back.
Dan, your thoughts?
On
the streamlining of net decks because of the money involved in Magic now?
I think it has been going on since the dojo, since Magic got a lot of publicity on the early internet, or the early World Wide Web. I think we have to take a step back here and look at the brilliance of the design of Magic the Gathering as a game. Because of the sideboard structure as well, it is a bit self-regulating. So if everybody plays a certain net deck, it's usually standard is a format where it can sometimes go south, but in other formats it's sort of they regulate themselves with the sort of mechanic of the game. Do you understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That net decking is you can get some of the way by net decking, but you can't really go all the way. You have to make the great metagame calls, make the right sideboard choices, and do the unexpected to be the final winner.
Yeah, exactly. Like, two exactly the same decks will perform differently in the same matchup depending on their sideboarding strategies.
Yep.
Yeah, and a lot of rogue decks end up becoming net decks too. I mean, that's another beef I have with a lot of the more competitive players. The personalities I like to call it, the spike personality, is they have no idea why certain decks won a certain tournament. One that comes to mind is the Aristocrats, and it had success at one Pro Tour, and the reason why it had so much success is that Sam Black specifically beat the UWR matchup, and it just rolled over it, and that's what everyone was playing. I mean, he knew that that's basically what most of the other players were going to come in with, or variants that the Aristocrats. And then like a week later, people have sideboarded against Aristocrats, and now it wasn't getting the finishes that it used to get. And even like Mono Blue was the same thing. That was kind of an unheard of deck at the time. You saw a few decks on MTGO, but they weren't performing very well on MTGO, the Mono Blue Devotions. And then as soon as it won that Pro Tour, everyone was playing it. And now, again, like I said, I think the only reason that Mono Blue is continuing to get top 8s is just the sheer number of people that are running it.
Yeah, they're running the odds, definitely, because I don't even think it's such a strong deck, to be honest.
It's easy to shut down. It's the same thing. If you know how to play against it, you just take out the Nightveil Specters and the Master of Waves. Like that, one of the guys that went with us to Fort Collins, he basically said that his Master of Waves did absolutely nothing the entire match because people just now waited for it, killed the Master Waves, and yeah. You just spent 4 mana on nothing.
Just run those lightning strikes against the Nightfall Spectres and some Electrickeries, and it will be fine. Dan, you actually played that weird deck that I brewed, the
Yes.
Is It one?
Yeah.
It didn't perform quite as well as it performed for me, but you have to admit, it must have been fun to catch the Desecration Demon.
Yes. That was fun. Okay, so that's a big flyer you have. Can I borrow it for a while and smack?
That's why I brewed it, because they usually run 1 big threat or 2 big threats, and if you can just it's too bad you can't really use the release part of it, but as long as you can catch it, it's like, oh, hey, nice.
Yeah.
Nice Planeswalker you got there. Can I borrow it? Make some tokens.
I have to share an ancient Magic story with you guys. I was at playing at the 95 World Championships, and we it was at night between 2 days of playing, and I was still in the competition. And we were sitting with some Americans, and we were having drinks. And I actually learned that this American thing with the paper bag is real, that you had to have a paper bag over your bottle if you went outside, or otherwise you could end up in trouble. But anyway, we were really drunk, and we were sitting playing with Power 9 without sleeves on the table against some randoms. And one guy was running, he only had control magic effects in his deck. And everybody was really drunk, and he was like, "Say, that's a nice something you have over there. Can I borrow it?" And so all he ever did was take people's stuff.
We call it borrowing.
Yeah, and it was all this like unsleeved Power 9 stuff, with a sleazy table with like beer stains.
Oh man, I never even seen a Power 9, to be honest, any of it.
I've sold a couple of sets of Power 9s during my days. Wow. I think I own 3 Beta Lotus sets, but all I have now is 1 Mox. That's what I kept.
Oh, is that all? You poor thing.
Yeah, all the power things. And I thought I sort of played a lot of paper until 97. Very competitively. I was ranked 13 in the world at the time, and but I got out at 97. I sort of finished university and had to start working, so I sold most of my expensive stuff at the time. But I kept like some crap. I had Lionized Diamond, a pile of mint ones. Like, oh, this is worth nothing. Let's put it in a shelf. And in a
just use it to.
Nice. Yeah. Like
I remember up the table.
25 cents or something when I got them.
Oh, man.
I had a friend eat a Lion's Eye Diamond. He was so mad that he opened it back in Mirage when we were little kids at the time. And he was so mad that he opened a Lion's Eye Diamond because it was at the time we couldn't figure out a use for it, and he ate it. No.
Didn't Dread have to be invented before there was ever a use for it?
Yeah, I don't remember much of a use even. Well, then again, I wasn't very competitive back then. In fact, our play group was destroyed because one of the players became very competitive, and he started the first net decking in our play group. But yeah, we couldn't find a use, and that's when like Inquest and Scry existed, not the internet. I mean, the internet existed, but no one used it at the time. So it's Inquest. We had to wait for our Inquest. And now I remember going in the basement and finding an old Inquest magazine, looking about how terrible those decks were that they brewed on Inquest.
Yeah, they were crazy bad. I remember the first number of Scry, the first issue of Scry, where they sort of tried to guess what cards there were in Magic. Because Wizards hadn't released the information. So nobody really knew the exact number and names of the cards.
Wow. All right, so let's move on to Born of the Gods, the next set. So the new mechanics, of course, the inspired mechanic, tapping and untapping your cards to gain a benefit from it. That's going to work so well with Heroic. Everything works well with Heroic if you look at it. I mean, Bestow, even Tribute. So what are your thoughts on the cards that was spoiled so far? It's like 54 spoiled, I believe, so far.
Yeah, that's right.
So what are your thoughts? What cards stand out to you guys?
I understand why they put Springleaf Drum in it, but when you saw it
I love
spoiled,
that
it was
card.
like, what? Why is Springleaf Drum in that set? But now you understand.
I just got my first set of Springleaf drums, the original ones, like 3 weeks ago. And now they're re-releasing it. Like, oh, okay. I had to special order it from the U.S.
Alright.
Kevin, thoughts on the spoiled card so far and mechanics?
Yeah, I'm liking this set a lot. Most of the powerful cards are in the uncommon range, so I don't know how expensive this set. Hopefully, doesn't end up like another Dragon's Maze with no value in it, and then people don't want to open it. But my favorite card so far is just the 3 mana. He's 1 red, 1 green, and 1 colorless for the Tribute 1. And if you don't tribute him, he becomes a 4/4 haster, and he still has trample. And then if you do tribute him, he's a 4/4 trample. I think that's incredibly powerful because the tribute. I don't like cards that give the opponent the option. Like the Phoenix is the card that everyone's talking about, and I really just see it as it's going to be the worst of two. Either they're gonna have something that can deal with a 3/3 haste flyer, or they're going to have a removal for the 5/5 flyer for 4. So neither one of them is too impressive in standard right now. I mean, both get answered by a Desecration Demon. So, yeah, I mean, it's a 5/5 flyer is good for 4 mana, but it's nothing like so special that we haven't seen so far. We already have the 6/6 flyer for 4. But the option, always giving the opponent option is a bad choice in a card. Everyone was so hyped about Vexing Devil, and we saw how that turned out. It was neither one of those scenarios. It was always the worst scenario for you. If you needed the 4 damage, it's going to be a 4/3 creature. You needed a 4/3 creature, it's going to be 4 damage. It's a card with a built-in dismember to it. So, and then some of these tributes kind of feel that way too. But this one, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the tribute is so negligible that a 3/3 trample for 3 is decent by itself. A 4/4 trample is great, and a 4/4 or +1/+1 3/3 haster until a turn is great too. And I think it's the missing piece for RG aggro. They need like a 3-drop that you can go first turn Elvish Mystic into. Now you have 2 choices. You actually have 3 choices between Boon Satyr, Domri, and this dude. So I'm really liking that card. I think it's gonna be the most impactful besides the obvious choices like the new Infest and the -3/-3 instant speed removal.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think we might see a resurgence of the RG aggro, maybe reaching the top 4. I don't know how
Yeah, it still
often
works
it's there.
great.
Go away.
Well, no, it's still
RG
there. But
monsters. Yeah, it's not really the same thing. It's way more mid-ranged than what they're trying to do. Is it's just another devotion deck that tries to spit out as much mana as possible.
we need
an
the good
RG
old
aggro
Flint of
would-
War.
Yeah. No Flint of Boar to get the Burning Tree, Flint of Boar nonsense.
I hated those decks.
Yep.
Because they
That was
always
the
had
only
them in
thing
the
I
hand,
played in that
always.
set.
Always, there I was just trying to build my little army, and there they go, Burning Tree into Burning Tree to Burning Tree into Flint Hoof 4. Thanks.
that actually happened to me at GP, or not GP, at this last PTQ against RG Monsters. As I having went Burning Tree into Burning Tree into Burning Tree. I'm like, I guess I lose this match.
Yeah, because there's really nothing you can do to recover from that. You'd have to have an insane amount of removal in your hand.
Yep. Yeah,
Unless you have lightning
unless you have
strike to lightning strike to lightning strike.
That's still too slow, because then what he did is actually Burning Tree into Sylvan Carotid, and the next turn he threw out a Paul Kronos, and then he proceeded to top deck into monster. So I was dealing with the monsters. I was killing the Colossuses and but it was just the 6 damage each turn that I wasn't able to. And I had like Loxodon and Smiters in my hand that I couldn't cast, or otherwise I'm just dead to these huge monsters. So yeah.
Yeah, don't you just love cantrips?
Yeah, not a fan of Burning Tree Emissary. Because when I play it, it's like Burning Tree Emissary into, oh, I got nothing with it.
Yeah, I know. It's when I play, it's like I have Burning Tree Emissary and an Ash Zealot. What am I gonna do here?
Yeah, I know exactly.
It's like, well, I played it too, I guess. And there goes my mana. At least we don't have any more mana burn.
It's great if you don't like consistency with your deck. You want it to be a different experience every time. I played a deck a lot, and when it worked, you felt like a genius. But then you have those draws as well. When you didn't.
I mean, all decks work like that, but I don't know why they seem to work a lot better for my opponents than for me. It's unfair. That's what it is.
That's because you remember the bad experiences.
That's true. So, good news for your Underworld Cerberus, Kevin. We have multicolored gods now. So,
yeah, I'm really liking I actually like Mogus. I think he feels to me like I actually like him in more of a control deck.
mm-hmm.
So maybe instead of Assemble Legions, I don't know if that's because he still threatens. Even like if you had like a Chandra and you somehow put out something else that adds the devotion up to 7, you have a 7-powered beater that can just end the game. But it really feels like in Assemble Legions that it's going to get 2 damage. If you're in a control deck, it's going to get 2 damage per turn. And then just basically grind out your opponent. And Xenagos is kind of cool as well. I've already brewed some scenarios that you can actually get Xenagos active on himself, and so he's basically, you have to look at him as a 12, 11 haster the turn he comes into play, because you can go Burning Tree Emissary into the human guy, the one that does damage, taps for a green, and does damage every time it...
Zertod.
So then, yeah, so if you have like an Elvish Mystic out, then your Xenagos is active on turn 3, which is that's a pretty aggressive. Of course, you have to have that God Hand, but I mean that's just 2 cards really that you have to synergize. You could have any 1-drop. You could have a Dried Militant. You could have an Elvish Mystic. You could have a Experiment 1, and so there's plenty of 1-drops into your Burning Tree, into your Zertod Druid, into your Xenagos. So I'm thinking that scenario will work out quite a bit, and Underworld Cerberus will still get its day in the sun. I think. It's a very powerful card. I've had a lot of success with it, and I think that the biggest problem with it not seeing much play is Stormbreath Dragon exists,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times they're competing for that same slot.
Yeah, definitely. I'm still hoping Rakdos Control is going to be a thing soon. I just want a Rakdos Control deck. It just I have tried to brew it, but I just can't seem to make it work.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's just I think the temples are going to help that deck out a lot. Actually, I mean, just something as simple as that.
Temples are actually a lot better than I had anticipated.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I just looked at him as like, what? Why are they so much better than the Guildgate? Yeah, he's Scry 1, but it still comes into play tapped. But the Scry ability is just, it's really good. It can save you a turn effectively. So.
Are we getting all the 5 temples now?
Yeah, we're gonna get the.
So why are they only spoiling 3 so far?
No, we're not getting all 5 of them. It's just going to be the allied. The reasoning for that is what I heard is that they printed in the first Entheros the Dragon's Maze, or sorry, Gate Crash.
Yeah.
All the Gate Crash lands were printed in Entheros. They did that for a reason, because they felt that Gate Crash lands didn't get as much time in the Return to Ravnica block, so they thought they'd give those. And then for this set, they're just going to do the remaining allied colors. And then the last set, they're just going to have the Golgari and the Izzet, which were, again, were Ravnica dual lands.
Oh no!
So,
there goes my Izzet brew. I'm gonna have to wait a couple more months.
Apparently there's no room for them. So if you look at the numbers there's no more slots for 2 more lands.
Okay.
So that's all we're gonna get.
Oh no, that's not good for me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Izzet too, and see, Scry works the best in Izzet, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the one that wants it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it sets up like I'm fiddling around with an Ivix Cyclops deck again, because it's so much fun to, especially like an F&M deck. It's very fun to play.
It is.
We're having a lot, and it's a cheap deck too. So I've built it for a couple of the kids locally, as it doesn't really cost anything if you don't have to have the dual lands. You can get by with Guild Gates right now, and then it's all you can make a competitive deck with all commons and uncommons just using Nivix, and then I guess Quicken. You need Quicken is your only rare, and then Armed and Dangerous is an uncommon, and it's actually pretty consistent with Teleportal, Armed and Dangerous, Quicken. You can get off that one-turn kill and whatnot. But a Scryland would make that deck so much better because you could set up that card you're drawing. So you could keep a lot worse hands and still pull out of it just from a Scry.
You see, Dan, I told you it was good. That's pretty much what I built.
Yeah,
it's
very close.
A Crone Crusader, Young Pyromancer included in there, and Catch Release to catch their big threats. And, yeah, some removal. Because Cyclops is just such a good card. And if you teleported it up and Armed and Dangerous, well, good luck dealing with that. Especially if you have Museum Skin in hand. So let's do just a little bit of speculation before you wrap it up. Top 3 specs or price increases that you predict after Born of the Gods hits. Let's start with Dan.
Well, first off, I think many people that do Magic Finance are way too short-sighted, and that this kind of speculation, to speculate on short-term standard cards, is doomed, pretty much. It's very, very hard to do, and it's very... I only work on Magic Online for specs, and the rake, the amount of money you have to pay in fees to bots to sell cards, will in the long run kill any profit you make by short-term specs. You will remember your successes and you will think that you are so good at speculating, but I spend about 80% of my Magic time doing finance things, and I really try to stay away from this kind of speculation because it's not profitable, and there are many reasons why it's not, but rather you have to work on the greater trends on Magic Online, because they are so clear that sort of buy modern cards when nobody wants modern cards, sell them during modern PTQ seasons, and you look at enormous gains. What I would do here is, and what seems to be really fun then, is the Pro Tour speculation. But that won't happen this time. It happened in Theros, because the Pro Tour was standard. So the Master of Waves, Thassa, for example, those are great. But I'm really not looking at getting into doing any short-term specs on because of what is in Born of the Gods. It's way too risky with too small an upside.
More of a modern speculator.
No, not at all. I do a lot of standard speculation as well, but I do it on the greater seasonal cycles. For example, all Theros block will be at its lowest price in mid-June, and it will be at its highest price in mid-February 2015. So if you just buy all Theros block, all 3 expansions, mid-June, sell in mid-February, you will make a killing if you just stay on the playable cards. And despite what decks spike and not. So I think that's much more sustainable than doing the individual specs. We don't know the starting prices for the cards as well, so Born of the Gods themselves is hard to speculate on.
Yeah, that's true.
So sorry for not giving you a real answer.
No. It's fine. I'll just put you here on my ban from the show list. No, just kidding. No. Avoided issues.
On the other hand,
Kevin,
I'd like to add a card on Born of the Gods that I'm interested in. I think they are trying to push a White Weenie strategy.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah. So I'm excited about Bremas, the king
I
of
lost you there for a
Westeros.
second.
So can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, there you are.
Ah. Okay, so what did you
You,
hear?
you were gone for a second on my end.
Oh. When did you lose me?
I'm still getting... You're still cutting away a lot now,
Skype.
for
It's
some
wonderful.
reason. Yeah, the wonderful world of Skype.
You should actually maybe try to do
It was
Google
doing so
Hangout
well.
instead.
Hmm.
Hello.
I can't... I can't hear anything you're saying. I heard you say hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, we're getting somewhere.
Welcome back to the show. I'll edit in an interlude over here, no problem.
Alright.
No, really, I don't have the budget for it.
No, editing is for
So,
sissies.
Kevin, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, great. At least we can hear you. Any speculations on your end?
Well, I like to work with what knowledge we have, like what can, and like the problem. And I think that everyone is a little bit short-sighted on how played a role in standard. Like Master Waves was, of course, one very cheap. You could have bought it into Master Waves, and then you could.
Oh, wait.
Because that set has been. I think it's the PTQs that really
Mhm.
killed Theros. I mean, worth that money. They're holding high price. I think that we've kind of leveled out in Magic. We haven't seen the huge increase in Strad cards when Return to Ravnica. It's just that I think that we're 9 million at the start of Return to Ravnica, and now we're up to 12 active players for Magic the Gathering, so tripled. Now we have seen Theros taper off in growth.
Mm-hmm.
And this is cost largest PT, and that's all PT. So I mean, there still is some growth that we have as far as what can go up. Because I like it right now. Tristan is a because eternally can have eternal in the casual crowd. It's one of the more very popular in casual for those. And what I thought is it could have, if we do see some more spoiled cards that do use the double devotion we haven't seen any card read besides colors of devotion, but if we do see something like a Greyman of see a card like that, Skyrock, if monster each 3/3 hex 4 mana isn't bad spot remove. It knocks or any other devotion card active a dual devotion, and that's just rare. So if you want to look at things that can't actually be worth your speculation, because there's a speculating for every right you're going to get like 4 wrong. So I don't like to really it can go down in value. I want to buying that, especially mythics tend to go up in just because of redemption. So, I mean, even a ton of council lapses when they were going for 30 free tickets, too low for a card needed to redeem a set. And they have bounced up a little bit, but I mean, it's not it's profits. But again, I'm with Dan on because spec. Right now are definitely modern cards. We've already seen some move on a lot of them, but we're going to be coming in June. And one of the reasons why standard up in value right now are being opened at an insanely rate as they were during this sealed, not standard. So there's actually for standard cards, and people are trying to play test all their PT standard decks and play sets for those. So hard to see standard cards go up and down. I think it is about February is the peak cards before they start to fall, especially like the Return to Ravnica type stuff. Early rotating cards, and that should be about February, March this year. So Ravnica cards that aren't going to see immediate because of some sort of new mechanic in Born of the Gods. The only thing I can see enable dual devotion, or if you tier deck, they have been colors that have been avoided, like Rakdos colors, or all you haven't seen so far. Man, could skyrocket in value. But it's a great spec, but shamans are still low right now. You can still very low, and they're in a ton of different modern decks. So I think what's a safe investment? The only thing that pod go up on, like Karn start to go up, Liliana start to go up, are going up, so looking at the not so obvious staples like Inkmoth Nexus is a huge one. And I know the Masters cards are definitely gonna start as well. So I don't know if that's the question. Born of the Gods, how it's going to affect it, because I haven't a clue. So impressed with a lot of. I think that Mono Black is going to get better.
Probably. Let's see.
It's speculation's a very tricky field right now, especially from the new. We've got a lot of new speculators are really more than anything. It's creating that isn't justified in a lot of these cards. Like you'll see, like certain groups are targeting one, and it's just spiking the value. Like Consecrated Sphinx is one that it went from 6 to 20 overnight, and there really isn't any demand for that except for commanders.
Sure.
It might be in a bubble. I am definitely worried about a Magic bubble, right?
Yeah, that's a very real danger right now. Can you hear me? Hi again.
Are you back?
Yes. Kevin, say something.
Dan?
I'm here now.
Okay, I hear you, Fernando, but not Kevin.
I can hear Kevin.
Yeah, that's good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, let's go then.
I can hear you both just fine.
That's the most important thing.
And Kevin was kind of breaking up a little bit, but I could understand most of it though.
Yeah, I lost him completely.
I wasn't like totally not hearing him like you were.
So where were we?
What?
Where were we?
I can hardly hear you now, Dan.
Skype.
Stop fidgeting with your internet.
I'm doing
Crazy
nothing.
Viking.
Amazing.
Too much meat?
Yeah, too much porn downloads, maybe. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Alright.
Okay, you're back. That's good. Kevin, you still with us?
Yep.
Alright, awesome. I'm resuming the recording. I do have the ability to pause.
Oh.
Wonders of technology.
Amazing.
Okay. There we go. We're back. We had some technical difficulties. Well, Dan did. Yeah. But well, I have. It's funny you mentioned the Inkmot Nexus because I watched your speculation video like a year ago. I'm still holding on to those. I still have those, so I'm hoping that they go up in price now and I can get rid of a couple. Um, Also, I have a Rakdos and Obsidats, which I hope Dual Devotion is actually going to be a thing, and I can ship those away. Because I can't really build a deck around them. So, yeah, I think we discussed all the topics that I had on my cheat sheet over here. So,
Finance calls.
any closing statements?
I have a couple of finance calls right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin might have mentioned them as I didn't hear him. But I think the most important part about Standard is that rotation will probably hit a lot earlier this year because Standard PTQ season has moved. And when it ends on March 9th, I am looking to not own any RTR block cards on Magic Online. So I'm selling out everything during February. Of course, if you want to play Standard, you're paying for that, but I don't expect generally the value of Return to Ravnica Gatecrash and Dragon's Maze will decline steadily from March 9 onwards.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Completely with you there. That's definitely going to. Yeah, the whole moving it for sealed PTQ, I don't know if that was a good move because I mean, yeah, usually right now, like last year, right now was Modern, and then Standard.
Yeah.
That was the. Yeah, and so now they've messed with that. So yeah.
They had to fit in the extra Pro Tour, and I think that was the reason.
I'm with you. I think that everyone's going to be trying to get out of Return to Ravnica a lot earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. So if you don't need the cards from Return to Ravnica, I don't think it's worth it to try to speculate on Journey to Nyx. It's like the cards, yeah, we'd be getting the enemy-colored gods, and of course some of those, like you said, Obsidian or Izzet colored stuff could spike, but it's not worth the risk when people are just going to be getting out of Standard. I'm totally waiting on. But we're probably going to get rid of all of our Return to Ravnica inventory towards the end of using Village.
Yeah. Also, there seems to have been a lot of modern spikes lately, so any card that have gone up 200% or more on Magic Online in Modern, I would get rid of now. And I would especially get rid of the cards that's being flashback drafted in the next few weeks, like Zendikar, World Wake, and Mirrodin block. I think, for example, selling your fetch lands right now and buying them again in 2 weeks will be pretty profitable.
Are you back?
You talking to me or talking to Dan?
Dan.
Okay, did you
He's
hear
gone.
anything?
Oh, there you are. No, I just got out the little bit.
Okay.
The last 10 seconds or so.
Did you hear about the fetch lands?
No. Are they doing Zendikar drafts? Is that it?
Yes.
The flashback drafts.
So
That's
I would
stop.
sell sell Zendikar fetch lands right now and buy them in 2 weeks.
Hey. That's definitely what I'll do. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's something that MTG Online is you have to keep up with those.
Yes.
And again, one other thing is you're gonna, if you're a speculator, once those event decks are spoiled, get rid of those cards immediately because Mark Rosenwater already said that those are not limited print runs; they're unlimited. They'll keep printing them as long as there's demand. So just like Commander, and if you've seen how bad the Commander has hurt prices. to Sunday Defender, and anything else in those decks is just bottomed out because that was not a limited print run either. And so these modern event decks, I guess we should explain it. You know what I'm talking about, Dan, right?
Yes.
So is there two of them or just one of them?
Just
So I've
one.
heard two different. Is there just one?
Yes.
Okay. So whatever's in that deck, then get rid of. And people are already thinking it's going to be Pod. I think it's probably going to be either Affinity or Merfolk. That's my guess. But it could be Jund. I mean, they could print a Jund deck and have like Lily on it in there for $75. It's going to have a lot of good stuff in it. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple mythics
They have shown before that they
aren't included in a couple fetch lands. So
they count the rares and the mythics, so maybe they have double the amount usually. So maybe 2 mythics and 12 rares. And
yeah,
you can build no Jund deck from that.
yep.
Black White Tokens.
So that's going
was
to
the guess from
kill those prices.
the A team guessed Black White Tokens, and I think it's some deck that is in the $150 to $250.
What was that you broke up there? What was
Yeah.
it?
I heard you say tokens and then you were gone.
Yes,
Yeah.
the A team guessed Black White Tokens, and I think we will see a deck that is in the $150 to $250 price range.
The thing with Black White Tokens though is it's like tier 3. You rarely ever see Black White Tokens in today's
I haven't
modern.
played it
How
I mean, I could see
competitive-
UWR.
How competitive have the standard event decks been?
They've been, but the difference between standard event decks is, well, the value of them for sure. Like the last one was pretty good. It had actually Theros one wasn't that great, but the one before it was pretty good with it was loaded with at least burning Tranissaries. But I mean they've been decently, but yeah, I guess Black White Tokens would be again. I think see my guess is Fish or like a cheaper Affinity. I don't know if they'll even be that brazen to reprint fetch lands. I'm still under the group that I think that M15 is going to see some fetch lands. I think they're going to give us the Deathrite Shaman fetch lands in standard just for a couple months so we can all just the good old days when we had access to both Ponder and Preordain. They did that, so why can't they put fetch lands and Deathrite Shaman?
You can still use it in Delver.
And I'm thinking that M15 is going to have some fetches
That's
in
very
it.
likely.
They need to reprint them.
I hope so.
So I'm thinking maybe the modern event deck is just going to be a monocolored type thing. I could even see Living End be the modern deck or even Tron, something like that. Tron would be a very easy one to put in an event deck.
Mhm.
Because you can put a bunch of subpar Tron targets like Platinum Angel or Sundering Titan or just Mind Slavers, that type. You wouldn't have to go the whole Wormcoil Karn Liberated route in the event deck. It could be kind of a toned down Tron.
Yeah, if you add Karn in an event deck, that would be insane.
Well, they probably will. I'm thinking there's going to be a $50 Mythic in
Really?
the event deck. Yeah, well, we saw it with the last $75 product. They printed Jace the Mind Sculptor in it.
True.
So they've shown that they will.
They're not right.
Isn't Soul Sisters a great?
That was just.
Wouldn't Soul Sisters be a great event deck?
It'll kill the prices, the Soul Sister cards. So that deck finally got above the $200 mark. It took forever.
Yeah.
And there's more Commander that was driving the price of it. Is the Commander that was bringing up the price of the Sarah's
Ascendant, yeah.
Sarah Ascendant, and as well as more Pod that was bringing up the price of Ranger Vios. So I wouldn't even say that Soul Sister's the cause for Soul Sister deck going up.
Yeah, Sarah Ascendant in Commander is just cheating. Oh, look, a turn 1 6/6 lifelink
Yeah.
fire. Hi. Deal with that. Oh, all right. Well, any more final thoughts before we wrap it up?
I'm good.
Now that we can hear you, Dan, please.
I should take the opportunity and say something.
You were not in this show. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, that was horrible.
We heard nothing you said. No, I'm kidding.
No.
It was just a couple of parts. All right, so I guess it's a show. Thank you guys a lot for doing it. I hope it wasn't boring or anything, and I hope to have you guys on for future episodes if the people like it.
This was fun.
All right.
Great meeting you,
Well,
Kevin.
Yeah, I gave you a sub too there, Dan. On I didn't even know your channel existed.
I think I'm already subscribing to yours. Yep.
I played some Popper Heirloom. Is that what the format was?
No, they're two different formats.
Dan, are you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh.
Audio is not so this recording I've done on my end will be
Okay.
terrible.
We'll consolidate our resources. It will be fine. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Hey, on the positive note, my computer is still not on fire. So, hey, maybe the recording over here will be good.
One thing you could try was...
Kevin was saying he subscribed to your channel.
Oh, great.
I don't know if you heard about that.
I am a long-time subscriber of Rogue Deck Builder.
And he's gone. Well, then.
Hello.
This is the most hilarious thing I've ever heard. Oh, Lord. Google Hangout. Alright, well, episode 2 is going to be on Google Hangout. We'll try that out as soon as I figure out what it is.
Yeah, it's somewhat better audio-wise.
We'll give that a whirl then for episode 2.
Alright.
So, hopefully we'll have more of Dan. Oh, I'm still laughing. I should end this episode. Okay, so thank you again for coming along on this crazy ride filled with audio problems, and hopefully we'll see you on the next Roadcast. See you guys.
Cheers.
Take care.
And recording is done. There we go.